Board time. So I'm going to go ahead and rate the most likely to least likely Stanley Cup contenders. This is the most likely to win the Stanley Cup, not the most likely to get in the playoffs. There are teams that aren't great regular season teams, and then there are teams that aren't great playoff teams, and I'm trying to distinguish between one and the other, and I'm trying to do this in a fun way. So 31st, I'll go ahead and say Vegas. They're an expansion team. There shouldn't be any danger in saying Vegas. 30th, I'll say Colorado. They're in disarray. This isn't their year. Shouldn't cause a problem. 29th, I'll say Vancouver. I'm not exactly going outside of the realm of crazy here. This is the bottom three. I think most people can agree that that's likely how it shakes out. 28th, I'll go with Detroit. 27th, I'll go with Florida. 27th most likely. 26th most likely. Yeah, between New Jersey and Arizona. Well, I like the goaltending better in Jersey. So Jersey comes out ahead of this rebuilding section of the board at 25th. Now we're in the top 24. So you have your contenders, the next level, and then that mushy middle. The guys who they could be, they may not be, who knows. And this is where it gets tricky. So 24th most likely. I think Philly is still a ways out. I think Philly starting next year is going to be really dangerous and really fun to watch. 23rd, Buffalo. I think Buffalo's underestimated, probably by me as well, but that's where I see them anyways. 22nd, you know what? I'll go with Dallas. Dallas had a real crash and burn year this last year, and they could make that big turnaround, but I think in the playoffs, I think they would have a struggle. 21, Ottawa. Why Ottawa? I think losing Carlson for an extended period of time, it's going to make it hard for them to make the playoffs without a big flourish at the end of the year. And then if you have that big flourish, it's harder to go through those 4 rounds. 20th, I'll go with the Islanders. There's some uncertainty with them, with Tavares and whatnot. And I don't know that I like their goaltending through 4 rounds of the playoffs. 19th, yeah, I'll go with Boston. Most of their core is on the way down. Tuukka Rask is not what he was a few years ago. He needs to get back to that before I'm going to make them any better than 19th on this list. 18th on this list, Washington's lost too much. There's too many pieces missing from this lineup. I really hope they turn it around, but I think this is going to be a down year for them. 17th, Winnipeg. I'm not convinced that Steve Mason's going to be a huge upgrade for them. I think it'll be an upgrade over what Hellebuck gave them last year. Might even get them in the playoffs. I just don't know that I see them doing anything in the playoffs. 16th, I'll take LA. And I take LA because even though I'm not picking them to make the playoffs, if they make it, they'll be really solid. But again, Jonathan Quick, and you go, I don't know. 15th, Carolina, due to experience. I expect that number to go up. I expect them to make the playoffs this year. We'll see what happens. 14th, San Jose. So San Jose wins the mushy middle. So let's just put the champions down here. New Jersey and San Jose have won their respective rounds. San Jose's the best of this bunch. New Jersey's the best of this bunch in terms of being able to win a Stanley Cup this season. Keep in mind what Jersey's competition was. It's a grain of salt. So we're into the top 13. And all of these teams, while I may not have picked them to finish really high in the playoffs in the regular season, and I didn't pick Montreal to make the playoffs, I'm telling you, if they make the playoffs, they've got Carey Price. He's the best goalie in the game. And there's something to be said for riding a hot goalie. I did the playoff runs, all the Stanley Cup champions from 1981 through 2015. No, I haven't done the ones for Pittsburgh yet. Those are coming tomorrow, promise. So 13th, I'm going to go with Calgary because I haven't seen Smith able to do anything in the playoffs. I know he hasn't had great teams in front of him. I just don't know that at 35 that he's going to be able to suddenly put a team on his back. At 12th, it's a tough call. Yeah, it's a really tough call. Columbus hasn't done it yet. Columbus is kind of a sexy pick, but I want to see goalie Bob do it through a round of the playoffs. somehow. I'm kind of worried that he's going to be overplayed again this year. At 11th, I'll put Montreal. Their scoring up front is still an issue. Andrew Shaw came out and admitted he played through concussions last year. He admitted one, anyways. And usually where you play through one, you've played through others in your career. I may not like Shaw, but don't play through a concussion. It's not worth your health issues later. And all the talk he had in that article about he couldn't sleep and he had headaches and he was temperamental, more temperamental than normal. Those are signs of a concussion. It's not worth it. 10, I'll go with the Rangers because I do think Lundqvist's on his way down and it's hard to project them past about the second round. 9th. 9th, I'll go with St. Louis. Until their center spots are filled up, unless somehow Stastny has a huge comeback season this year, they're going to have trouble scoring again. 8th, I'll have Toronto. Leafs fans are very, very proud of their Leafs, and they should be. But there's a lot of young players. And young players, there's a reason that the third year is seen as the breakout year. And I have a funny feeling there's going to be at least one or two guys who get their points scaled back. Adding Marleau looks like a home run, sure. Whether it is or isn't, it's hard to project that out, and I'm not going to project that out. So the winner of this level, I have Minnesota, because I think Dubnyk is capable of a really nice long run in the playoffs. I think they've got the right amount of skill up front, and they've got a fantastic blue line, which didn't get decimated by expansion as we'd expected. And I think this could be a very good year for them. So Minnesota wins that round of almost contenders. San Jose won this one. Jersey won this one. Let's move on to the top 6 as I see it in terms of contending for a cup. And this is who's most likely to win a Stanley Cup in my eyes. So at number 6, and this is a surprise because people are picking Edmonton to win the Stanley Cup this year. And again, I think people are picking it too soon. They had a great year. McDavid's one of the top 2 players in the NHL. You're not going to get a lot of argument with that. And the Oilers have a fantastic lineup, and they're capable. I think they could go one round further in the playoffs. I don't know that the Stanley Cup is now. You look back to the Gretzky era, and that was a stacked team, and they went through, I think it was 3 setbacks before they won a Stanley Cup. Even Pittsburgh, there was a couple setbacks along the way, and then Crosby gets there. And I have a feeling that for McDavid, it's going to be that way as well. So I have them 6th. Nashville, I'm going to go ahead and take 5th because they went on that run to the final. They were really taking Pekka Rinne at his best. He had a career year in the playoffs. I don't know. 4th, I'm going to go with Chicago. And why is Chicago 4th? Because they're Chicago. They've got this core that I know they haven't won since Taves and Kane signed the $10.5 million a year each extensions, but they're still a damn good team. And in the playoffs, even though Nashville wiped them out last year, and even though they lost in the first round the year before, I still view them as really, really dangerous. And that may be my blind spot. Absolutely. So 3rd, I'm going to honestly take Tampa. Why? Because I don't think Tampa's the most likely to win in the East. So I can't take them as first. Now, I'm picking them to win the Stanley Cup. That's the funny part. I'm saying I think Tampa wins the Stanley Cup. It doesn't mean I think they're the most likely. The Ducks, even without Kessler, Vatanen, and Lindholm, and however long those guys are out, I think there's enough depth in the organization. I think you're going to see one or two guys get games because those guys are out that are just going to be awesome, and the Ducks are going to be so happy because their future's awesome, and it's going to make me want to shoot myself. And the Ducks are still one of the best teams in the league. Even with some major players on the sidelines, I still think with Gibson and net and with the system in place that Carlisle's going to have there, I think they can still go on a run. And then if those guys are all healthy for the playoffs, well, no harm, no foul, right? And number 1, Pittsburgh. Oh, no. I'm not just ending there. The Pittsburgh Penguins have lost a lot over the offseason. They have. They've lost some key guys, but they didn't lose any core guys. And it is really hard to look at Pittsburgh right now and say, well, they're not going to win the cup. Like, I get asked every now and then, why don't you talk about Pittsburgh's third line situation? because it's the first and second line that's going to carry them to the Stanley Cup if they win it again. And yeah, number one on this list, number one overall, is the team I'm wearing the jersey for, Pittsburgh Penguins. I don't want to see it any more than anybody else does. But I think when you look at where teams are right now, and I'm factoring in all trades and everything that's been done, I think the most likely Stanley Cup champions are still the Pittsburgh Penguins. I don't want it. A lot of fans don't want it. Pittsburgh would love it. And I know there's Toronto fans that are going to be upset that I have them sitting at 8th place, but you know, this is for the Stanley Cup. This is who's going to win a championship. And as hyped and as awesome as things are for both Toronto and Edmonton, and I couldn't be happier for those organizations and their fan bases, I think Canada needs to pump the brakes on who's going to win the Stanley Cup just yet, because it takes time and it takes experience and it takes a couple of times being knocked out for most teams before they finally reach that goal. And I really believe that while, yes, I do think that either Toronto or Edmonton will win a Stanley Cup in the coming years, meaning 3 to 4 years. I remember the excitement I had in 2007 that I thought with Luongo that the Canucks were overdue and they're going to win a Stanley Cup. This is finally going to happen. I remember Flames fans after they lost in 2004 saying, all right, well, with Kiprusoff and Iginla, we're going to get back there, and Phaneuf's an awesome defenseman. So I understand the hype, and I understand Leafs fans and Oiler fans being excited. I just, when I look at where we're at and who's got what, Pittsburgh has 2 straight Stanley Cups. And right now, I would have to take them as the most likely winners. I don't like it either. I'd like to see Vegas over here take it, but that's just crazy talk. Anyways, thanks for watching. Let me know who you think is the most likely to win a Stanley Cup. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.